Who is the one in charge?
Let's jump into episode 103, Mutiny of the Netflix limited series GRISELDA. We got to co-edit this episode together. This is our official submission for the 2024 Emmys.
It was very exciting because we were working on episode 1 and episode 3 and episode 5. And you know, when I read 3, you know, we knew we were going to work together on a co-edit, and I knew that I wanted to do 3, and I didn't know necessarily that you would say yes. You know, I think it's often you co-edit the last episode, you know, when you're working with someone, or you co-edit what they tell you you're going to co-edit because it's wherever, you know, the editor and the team needs the most help. And I remember when I asked you if we could do it on 103, you just said, sure. I said, yeah, like, let's do it. Right. You know, like, let's do it. Let's see if we can make it happen. I'll just, you know, I'll run it up the chain. And that was really cool because it was what I was of what we had, you know, I was most excited about doing that. You know, it seemed like the right thing to do to have you take 1, obviously, and, you know, really sink your teeth into that. And then, you know, it was sort of between 3 and 5 for me. And so I was really, you know, these are all amazing episodes. I was most excited about 3. I was most excited about the challenges, you know, in 3 in terms of where her arc is at the time.
You know, this is a collaboration, right? I mean, this is you and I talking constantly, sharing ideas. Cut a scene, I cut a scene. We take a look at each other's work, and it's an open dialogue, right? It's saying, hey, you know what? I like what you did here. Or maybe, have you tried this? And I like to see, for example, like your point of view, say, on a scene, because maybe, obviously, you're not going to cut it the same way I am, right? And vice versa, right? And it's like, I enjoy hearing that feedback. And it sparks just like new ideas, right?
You know, I know I'd thrown out there stuff that I wanted to do, and it was always yes. You know, it was always like, I was like, you know, I'd like to try this, I'd like to do this, I'd like to get experience with this, and it was always yes. And then just, you know, a real like turn into like, okay, not only like are we going to bounce these scenes back and forth, but what I would get to do is see how you would kind of get them up the chain. And I think that's really important for collaboration and co-editing too, because I think as editors, you know, we sometimes want to say, okay, this is done, this sounds good, this looks good, let's get it off and let's show our work. And then, you know, what you have to keep in mind that I think that people will learn on a co-edit is, well, even though this is ready to go, like, let's keep in mind what our director, producer, showrunner, you know, is doing that day, and what episode they're focused on, and what they happen to be, you know, shooting. And, you know, because maybe we wait a day on that, and we hook it together with another scene so that we can show them a run of scenes. And that's going to provide the most confidence in the overall episode. So there's so much to be learned by doing a co-edit because, and by collaborating, because some of the things you might think are the right way to go, well, it's just counterintuitive. It's like, well, you know what, we have this other department, this music will be coming in, or, you know, the director, Andy, in our case, he's going to be shooting all day tomorrow, and he's going to want to see something on Saturday. So, you know what, let's send him this run of scenes and a version 2 of this other scene on Saturday. And then it's like, and then they can filter it in their own best way. So it's like, that's sort of like situational awareness of the whole production is so key for people making the transition to being in the chair and being an editor. And I think that, you know, so much of this stuff is not mapped out in our industry. It always falls on people to go the extra mile, to mentor other people, and to say like, okay, like, I'm like, we're going to do it this way. And I want to tell you why I'm doing this so that everybody's happy at the end of the day. But like, there's no training program, there's no manual, there's no anything besides experience that can get you there, and knowledge of working with people. And so I think it just in what we do, it's really important. And I would hope that these kinds of processes could, you know, almost be, you know, not more formalized, but more regular for people, because I think they're really going to help people, you know, become really good editors down the line.
With GRISELDA, right? I mean, we were working remotely. You know, say I was in the office, and you were at home, I have my laptop, right? I think, did we use like Zoom or Slack or you were there somehow listening, for example, on, I forgot what app I was using. People, frequently ask me, it's like, well, how can I learn? How can I be, say, in the room, now that, we are working remotely? Well, it's like this way, right? It's like, it's just different, right? But it's like having, say, in this case, you be in there, listening to, say, an actual live session, say, Andy or Eric Newman, right? Executive producer is in the room and you're listening, you're taking notes, right? But also it's like, they know that you're there, right? It's like you have a presence there.
Yeah.
And you're getting access to them, right? And you're being seen, they're seeing you. All right, here's, Chris, he's editing, he's part of the process, we're collaborating. And so that's the way, right? Because if we were at the office, it's like, hey, come in the room, right? I mean, you're sitting here. That's like what was done with me when I was, say, trying to get bumped up to being an editor. And so I would certainly do that. But, that's not the setup we have now, but this is the next best thing.
When you are collaborating remotely and your editor is going to ask you to like take this scene or fill in this other scene with sound, those people, those executive producers, those showrunners, they still are making a mental note, passively, if not actively, like how long it takes for that stuff to come back into the room and how good it is. And so, those things still matter. And then obviously they matter to your editor hugely, right? Because that dictates the success of the entire session in the room that day. But people know, I mean, these are people that we're all working for. That, I mean, they're maybe their biggest, maybe what they're hired for the most is to recognize, talent in others to begin with. And so they know and they understand, when good work is being done. And I think people working remotely, it's important to remember that and to do your best because of that.
It's just important to be proactive, right? In the sense of like really making a point to let people know that you're there, what you're doing, also for, say, editors to, bringing in assistants into the room. Because that's the only way, this stuff, man, they don't teach you in film school. I mean, it's like you were saying, right? I mean, this is stuff you literally can only learn in these rooms, right? I mean, I don't think there's really anywhere else.
100%. And I think that, for the people who, for those who want to be a part of it and are not yet a part of it, I think it's also important to spotlight that having and showing, a tremendous sense of gratitude, at every step in the process is very important. Because, regardless of, whether you're getting as many ground balls as you want to on a given day, if you're not bringing a sense of gratitude, then, you're kind of dragging, the process down. I know that like when you go get hired on a job, like you're grateful to be there, and if people don't feel that like you're grateful to be doing what you're doing, you've got your eyes on the prize for whatever you want next. But if you let that sort of sense of, this isn't enough for me, or this isn't quite where I want to be, if you let that kind of creep into your work, that's going to set you back. And so I think it's really important to bring a sense of gratitude in these kinds of collaborations. People need to know that you appreciate the opportunity, you respect the opportunity, because it's like, if they have to think about something that like is bothering you, well, then you've already kind of lost the game.
What goes into, say, getting a co-edit? I mean, like how, anyone watching or listening to this, what would you say to them? How to pitch yourself to get a co-editing credit on a say, scripted TV show?
Yeah, I think it starts with, letting your editor know that you would like to cut as much as possible, and in the same breath, that will not affect in any way, shape, or form the other things that you're responsible for: processing dailies, doing sound, temp, VFX, and that you appreciate the opportunity to participate in that way. And that, once you start getting those scenes, because editing a few scenes, there are a lot of assistants who get to edit a few scenes, but it may not lead to a co-edit. I think that what's really important is when the feedback comes back from that you are completely open to that feedback, because you're going to get it. If you get promoted, you're going to get tons of feedback. You're going to have to try things a million different ways that you never thought of. And that you have to welcome that feedback, and that you need to come when someone gives you a scene to work on, you need to come with a strong point of view, and try and make it its absolute best. And you need to take swings, but you also need to have, it's the idea of like strong ideas but loosely held. Like you need to be very open to making as many changes as it takes to make the people who you're doing this for, satisfied with the work.
It's about, building that trust, right? Obviously with us, it was a little different because we've known each other now for a while. But I think that for, say, someone maybe that is just recently teamed up, say with an assistant that's teamed up with us, like an editor, right? I mean, like there is that process of building trust. And I think it is about communicating. Part of it is like communicating what you want to do, saying that, obviously that you want to cut, but also not necessarily like just expecting that. It's like you really have to focus on the work that you're doing, say maybe in this case as an assistant editor, and maybe, cut stuff on the side, right? I mean, like, and always be doing the best work possible, but at the same time communicating your interests, saying, you know what, you have to say it. Like, this is what I see myself doing. Like, I want to be in that chair. You can't just assume like, an assistant wants to cut. Like you do have to really, really say it, not be too pushy. Over time, I think it's just having that dialogue, being open about what you want, your goals, also your interests, and doing good work, man. Being proactive and just doing killer work. That never goes away. You got to do good work, right? I mean, like
you got to be an asset, right? Like
you got to be an asset.
If you're not contributing, if you're not doing something, that's hitting the level, like then you're not contributing, and then it, it's this, none of, like, people are in it to help and to teach and to learn, but it's not charity, right? Like you want to be there, like you want to help your editor out. You want to make your editor's life easier is maybe what you should put over your door, is like that's really where all things like flow from, right? It's like make your boss's life easier. The best that you can. Don't compromise your morals or your principles.
No.
Other than that, that's what's going to lead to opportunity.
You can learn a lot like by observing, right? Knowing maybe how, say, what your editor likes, and say how, with regards maybe to organization, to like, even I say, knowing maybe your editors, like what they like for their favorite coffee order, right? I mean, like things like that. I think it's like paying attention to these things, and it's not like we're out there, we're not that type of assistant, say for example, where I'm going to go get your coffee. It's not that. That's not what it is. It's just like you said, making their life easier. And like, I remember like, say, being an assistant, like, I would offer some, my editors, hey man, I know you're in the zone right now. I can go grab your lunch. Like, no problem. Like, and they would feel like bad, right? Because that's not my job, but I'm just saying, but if it makes your life easier, in the end, we're trying to deliver a product. I'm just trying to help out. And this is my way of helping out. And it's like, all right, things like that, right? It's like, I think we'll also just simply build that trust with someone.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's okay to like try something. Like, I want to give an example of like, it's okay to like try things and then have them be refined. So like sometimes when we were working, you'd be very busy and you would be like, I need a track for this. I need a track that's like bringing, a different kind of energy. And like, you don't really have time to like make suggestions about, what that is. But then you have to get creative. You got to listen to other movie soundtracks and get some temp in there, or other rock tracks or whatever it is. But yeah, you've got to be able to take the ball and run with it, because you're going to have to do that as an editor anyway. So it's like, you have to be prepared for situations where you don't have like 100% clarity and easy to follow direction. You have to, step into that. And if, you could get a bunch of tracks and come back and be like, no, this isn't what I was thinking. None of this works. And, and don't be butthurt about that. You've got to like, all right, like, how can we refine this, and, you have to go into, into things with that kind of mentality.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna be. If you want to be in the chair, you better start getting used to this stuff.
Yes.
And even simply, again, communicating, right? I mean, voicing an opinion, an idea, because that's what, as an editor, basically one of the reasons why they hire you, honestly, right? So you have to be really comfortable with, say, putting yourself out there, getting over any shyness, and being very vocal, right?
And paying attention. Like what you're saying really reminds me of, like, we've worked with more than 3 showrunners together, and we've been on shows together where I've been in Evercast, and there has been, like, just taking notes all day, but then, at the end of the day, the showrunner's like, what do you think about this, Chris? Like we like, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
and if you haven't been paying attention the whole time and listening, like, then you might be seen as no good to that person. So, paying it, it takes a lot of extra work to, like, it's the backup quarterback thing, right? Like, you gotta be prepared even if you don't get a snap. And so I think people, editors, co-editors, assistants, you gotta have that. I'm sure that, like, you get, as an editor, you get asked things that, you normally wouldn't be asked. And, like, we're all asked to, stuff lines of dialogue and come up with things here and there. So you always have to be paying attention. There's never a time where you can't be paying attention.
No, it's so true, man. You gotta be sharp and focused, and can contribute. And in that situation, you have your editor and then, like, the showrunner, right? And it's like, well, I want to be loyal to my editor, but here's a showrunner. It's like, and then that, like, having, how do you manage that, right? Giving, like, what answer do you give? Or maybe at times also when someone asks you what you think and maybe you don't like it, but you're not going to say, well, I don't like it, right? I mean, it's like, that in itself is like an art form of how to deliver, say, constructive criticism or feedback.
Another really important thing that I would point out to people jumping into the co-editing situation, the collaborating situation, is that when your editor comes to you and says, like, what do you think about this scene? What I would not do is come back and say, like, I would use the medium here, I would use the wide here, the close there. I think what they're most often looking for is, like, how it makes you feel, what the issues are with it, but I don't think that they are, looking for you to solve it specifically, unless they say, can you solve this specifically for me by mixing and matching shots? And it's you should consider yourself, like, it's more of an honor to be asked, like, how do you feel like the tone of this scene is working in the body of an episode or a film? And I think so people will appreciate you more as a collaborator if you don't necessarily try to fix something just because somebody is looking for your opinion on something. I think that's something that you can take with you.
Yeah, no, this is all great stuff. And again, things that we've just learned from our experiences, right? I mean, like, literally being in these cutting rooms, doing the work. And a lot of times, look, I'd say most of the time, it's not like we were prepared, like, knowing, all right, this is what we should do. You just jump into the fire, right? Because again, we said a lot of stuff you don't learn, say, outside the cutting room. You don't learn, say, maybe in film school. You just have to experience it, right? But trust yourself that, you're gonna figure it out. You're going to do good work. And if not, you can, or if you can't figure it out, like, go ask, there's a great support system around you, right? I mean, like, you can find those answers, but this is normal. I mean, like, again, because this is a lot of stuff that you can't, most likely will not be prepared to tackle.
Hopefully the kind of collaboration that we had and that we have had, becomes more common for more people, because it's healthy. It's obviously super fun, and it's like how people can move forward. Because I think that as great as our business is, like, there aren't really. I think it's just there's a lot of mystery in terms of how to move forward. There's just a lot of mystery, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think that less mystery, around development, is just good for everybody. I think it's good for mentors and mentees. And so I hope that, people watch, what we're chatting about. And I hope that they, have some of the same, principles and ideas and can add to it. And that, that more people have, opportunities, because, there's a lot of talented people out there that should get opportunities. And I hope they, approach it the right way.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, like, that's what we're doing, is try to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and provide some information, some insights of what goes on, say, again, in the cutting room, so people can learn, be, a little bit more prepared, right? But in the end, it's like, you just got to do it. And you're going to face your own, situations, and you're going to have to go through it. But at least, we're creating this, right? To get you ready for when you're out there, searching for a co-editor, or just simply trying to break into this industry, or getting bumped up to editor, whatever it is. Hope this certainly helps out. Well, hey, dude, thank you for just an awesome experience, man. Obviously, working on the show, being able to co-edit this episode 103, titled Mutiny, of the Netflix limited series Griselda. This is our official submission for the 2024 Emmys.
Thank you, man. It was a privilege to be there with you and to participate and collaborate. And it was it's a dark show, but there's a lot of joy that we had in making it together. And I know people really like it. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And thank you.